We just took a complete tour around California Adventure, and we've got a lot to talk about. Have we reached the peak of crowds? What can Disney do about Genie Plus? We'll even talk about Bob Iger's comments regarding Avatar and where we think it could be heading. We're going to go to every land. We're going to check in on every attraction. This is our State of DCA report. Well, I hope you guys are ready. I'm ready for another State of DCA report. The last two from California Adventure have been pretty wild. The last State of Disneyland report was pretty crazy. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the state pans out, although I already have a sneaking suspicion what we're going to find today. Let's walk down Buena Vista Street, get a little vibe check of what's happening here at DCA. I should check the time. At 1:03 on a Sunday afternoon. And if you are subscribing to the theory that we have been considering for the past few weeks or so, that what we've been seeing, the surging crowds, the surge in Genie Plus usage and all that, and just regular attendance is attributable to the $50 ticket for kids, then today might be the culmination of that entire period, because today is the last day that those tickets can be used. Today is the last day of the $50 ticket, and then we're back to regular attendance starting tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning. And that'll be the Five and Dime doing their thing out here at Carthay Circle. But I mean, it doesn't take much to observe right now that this is a very busy afternoon here as we make our way around the circle.
I found her. And now Phyllis, truth be told, I think I spotted her first. Oh boy, here we go again. Take me for an hour.
Wow. I think we're in for it today, you guys. I want to take one last look at Buena Vista Street before we head down Hollywood Boulevard, because they are just coming in. I was going to start my commentary heading down Hollywood Boulevard in selfie, but I mean, I got to show you. This might be the busiest scene I've seen in recent memory, just on Buena Vista, or on Hollywood Boulevard, that is. It has often been the case where it's been very quiet here as we walk down this street. I don't know, man. I'm going to be really curious to see how this park reacts starting next week, Disneyland 2, and whether or not, by the way, I should mention another contributing factor to the crowds that we're going to find here at DCA specifically. Food and wine has begun. That started last week. Hopefully you guys caught our Food and Wine Festival video. We ate everything. Every single food you could get at a kiosk, we ate it. Plus a few drinks. I got a little buzzed, but we had a great time at Food and Wine, and I would recommend checking that video out if you haven't already. But that is going to contribute to the scene that we're going to find today for sure. It's a Sunday afternoon, which is another rare day for us to do this type of report, because on Friday we were at the Boysenberry Festival, another food festival. Anyway, let's go to the Hollywood backlot. That's a queue right here for ordering food from these two kiosks back here, two Food and Wine kiosks. We sampled both of these, obviously. Not quite that great in my opinion. The drink was good that you could get here. That drink was good. The drink you could get here, not so much. That's the cucumber one. Wow, okay. Yeah, what we're seeing here is not strictly busy day talking in terms of, this is Food and Wine that we're seeing. We're seeing the impact of Food and Wine. However, we're also seeing, we're off to a great start. I'm going to bet that is the Lightning Lane queue from Monsters, Inc. Oh my goodness. Let's go take a look. We'll round this corner and see if they're all going left. Yep, they're all going left. Oh my gosh, I feel so sorry. Just know, you see something like that at Lightning Lane, especially for this attraction, you can expect it to do a lot of damage to standby, and so it has. 75-minute standby right now at Monsters, Inc. It is 1:10 in the afternoon. 75-minute standby. All I can see right now is Lightning Lane. I'm really nervous where the back of this queue is going to be, although it doesn't really matter. Up your day. It doesn't matter because with a queue like that for Lightning Lane, it doesn't matter how long or how short this queue could potentially be. They're all gonna wait for those Lightning Lanes. Everybody here is gonna wait for all that Lightning Lane queue to get processed. So we're at about a typical busy day queue right here for Monsters. They haven't reached the very end, the very last section, but it's certainly bad enough. I feel bad because they may or may not know how bad things are out there right now for Lightning Lane. Once you get into the queue, it's difficult to tell what your impact is going to be because you can no longer see it. Hey guys. But if I could speak telepathically to all these guests, I would give them my condolences because that's really, really not great. That's really, really not great. 75 minutes. How bad do you have to want to go on Monsters Inc. right now to get into a 75-minute standby queue? Well, actually, nobody's getting in, as it turns out. I haven't seen a single standby guest enter this queue since we approached. Matter of fact, let's go take a look out here for a second, do a little recon. So, yeah, this right here, this group they're trying to decide if they want to get in that queue or not. And they're saying no thank you, that's a balk. Unless they're gonna get into Lightning Lane. Now, I don't know if you heard, but there's a cast member in there telling them not to get out of this queue. If you're in Lightning Lane, they're saying don't get out of this queue. It looks bad, but it's not. She said it's gonna be about 5 minutes. And she's correct, because every single one of these guests is gonna get processed before they process even 10 standby probably. If I were to wait here for about, I'm gonna say 12 minutes. If I wait here for about 12 minutes, we'll see them come out of the exit over here. 5 minutes in this queue, another minute, no, another 2 or 3 minutes in the interior queue, and then 3 minutes on the actual ride, is my guess. 12 minutes from now would be 1:25. I think I want to find out. They just knocked the wait time down to 60 minutes on the board. I don't know how they could have arrived at that. Was it worse before? Is that even possible for it to have been worse? We've now been watching for 9 minutes. It is 1:21, and the back of the queue of the Lightning queue is nearly at the scanners now. So they are processing it, but it's actually kind of stopped at this point. I worry that there may be a breakdown, and that's going to throw a complete monkey wrench into our observation right now, because this queue has not moved for a minute.
Ryan, good. 7 cents, all improvement.
Everybody fall off.
11 minutes, 1:23, and the line is still not moving very briskly, so it has grown now. The Lightning Lane queue has grown. It's now back outside the threshold. It's possible that we may have a breakdown, and it's moving a little bit up there, I can see. So it may have been a brief hold. It is now 1:25. We've been watching for 13 minutes. This is about the time I predicted that those guests we were observing would be coming out of the attraction, plus or minus a minute, I would imagine. But it could be plus or minus another couple more minutes if there was, in fact, a stoppage. We're at now 14 minutes. 1:26. And there we go, 22 minutes later, it's 1:34, and the back of the Lightning Lane queue has come out, so that means 22 minutes for them to get through the entire attraction. So my guess was off, but I feel like it's moving slower than normally would have been expected. Plus, as I mentioned, there's some kind of issue going on because now the Lightning Lane queue has grown. It's even worse now than it was when we arrived. So not a particularly good start as far as queues go. And as far as the state of DCA goes, popping. It is popping right now. There's all kinds of things happening. Folks getting food, folks watching shows on the stage over here for Food and Wine. But we're gonna head to Avengers Campus next. By the way, before leaving the back lot, I picked up a peach mojito from Award Winners. Get our day started off in a good mood. No update from the Hyperion Theater, either in anything that they're doing over here in the queue area, which is nothing at the moment, nor no news regarding a show coming to the Hyperion anytime soon. I have just the one isolated rumor. Somebody said, I can't remember where, that they were going to be developing a new show, not Rogers the Musical, but I'm inclined to think that can't be the case, simply because why do that? Why take a show that you've already put together? You've already got everything set. You've got a script. You've got a set. You've got everything you need. Plus it fits. Plus people liked it. I don't know why you'd want to change it. As for Mission Breakout, I'm kind of surprised. Nothing shocking here. We're seeing things pretty standard. 55-minute wait time on standby right now. Lightning Lane looks to be pretty nominal, not excessive anyway. I can look back there in the queue, and there's nobody accumulating back there, so it's just regular, good old-fashioned busy here at Mission Breakout. Wow, that was enthusiastic. Meanwhile, the standby back here doesn't look too bad either. I mean, the board says 55, the queue looks full, but with a light Lightning Lane queue and a non-offensive standby queue, that's a go, you guys. We got ourselves a go at Mission Breakout. When's the last time we saw that happen? Especially on a busy day like today. You take your wins where you can get them. I'm not enthusiastic about a 55-minute standby, but when you consider what we're going to encounter throughout the course of this day, we could come back to that and say, yeah, there's your win right there. I hear the Dora Milaje down there. Good show that, the Dora Milaje. If you haven't seen that here at Avengers Campus, I highly recommend it. A lot of good energy out of that show. I appreciate it. Approaching Web Slingers. Standby says 75 minutes. See, that's what I'm talking about. That 55 minutes is going to look like a real bargain real soon, because we're looking at 75 minutes for Web Slingers right now. The standby is posted. You got people sitting on rails, leaning, not looking at all thrilled to be here. And you can guess why. Because there's your Lightning Lane. That's not good. They're not moving either. Although this is the kind of queue that pulses guests in and out as opposed to a steady stream. But you don't want to see that when you come into Web Slingers, that's for sure. Hey, how are you? Looking for Spider-Man. I was worried that they weren't doing the show up there, that they had shortened the show, but the last time I was through here, I saw him doing the first part of his stunt show up on that apparatus. So we're still getting a full-ish Spider-Man show. And by the way, it is 2:18 as I record this. The next Spider-Man show is at 2:50. And this traffic that we're feeling, I think it's the wake of the last show. Because normally it is not this crowded during this, or through this stretch heading out of Avengers Campus. Makes for a good show, though. Bob Iger says superhero movies aren't dead. The Avengers aren't dead. Bad movies are dead. I hope he's right. I mean, I want to agree with that. I want to believe that there's still room for superhero movies and Marvel movies as long as they're good. But I also agree for sure that people are starting to get a little bit more intelligent. The more you dumb down those films and the more you do things without a creative influence first, as opposed to an algorithm or some sort of formula by which you create films, the more you rely on that, the more likely the film is going to be bad and people can see right through that. And that concludes my rant for this afternoon on superhero movies. We talked about that in our last DCA report. I hope he's right. I really do. Let's go check in on Mater's. 2:22. 20 minutes for Mater's. And while that looks good on the wakeboard out there, I'm not sure if this is 20 minutes because they are using quite a... Oh, did they close some of that off back there? Look at that, they sure did. That's probably going to be all of 20. Often it is the case it's shorter than the posted wait time, but that's going to be all of 20. But yeah, you can see back there that they have put up some walls there. You know what, let's go investigate real quick. I don't know what to make of that. I took a peek through one of the cracks. You can't see it through the camera, through the lens, but I took a peek through, and it looks like they're just using, it's like a junkyard back there, like it's a literal Mater's junkyard in that behind the walls. So we'll make our way back down Route 66, where yeah, this is, oh my gosh. Okay, this is intense a little bit, have to admit. This is a lot of people, a little more than I might like, perhaps. Could be because Lightning McQueen is making his way out of his meet and greet.
Lightning,
Ka-chow.
Traffic in Radiator Springs? You gotta be kidding me.
Guess we'll surf that wake for a minute.
Here for the whack. I just got detail.
Curious to see, though, how Radiator Springs Racers is looking on this peak afternoon compared to last week. Last week it was pretty diabolical.
I just topped off at DCA Cafe.
Hi.
Ready to race.
You're right there, folks. You're right there. You're right there.
All right, see you later, Lightning. And Radiator Springs Racers, though not as bad as it was 2 weeks ago, it is not great. There's the back of the queue right here. This is Lightning Lane right here. So you're still looking at a solid wait for standby. This Lightning Lane queue that you're looking at, I'm going to clock that at about 25 minutes to your vehicle if you have a Lightning Lane. Which, by the way, remember, this is paid, individually paid Lightning Lane, not part of Genie Plus, individually paid, separate from Genie Plus. And the net result of that is a 90-minute standby, which actually I think might be light. 90 minutes seems light, considering what I'm seeing here
You guys are good to go. Thank you.
out here in standby. When they fill up these bullpens out here, like this right here, when they fill that up, and you're seeing a queue out there for Lightning Lane, this is a no-go. This is bad news. I cannot recommend enough. Single rider on Radiator Springs Racers, no matter how big your party is, if you're 2, 3, 7, or 10, single rider is the way to go on Radiator Springs Racers. Disney wants you to get in single rider queue, no matter how many are in your group. They want you to, because they want to fill that vehicle to the maximum, and that's what single rider does. they will tell you as you walk through, as you sit in the queue, they're like, hey, by the way, single rider, it's only 20 minutes right now, it's only 30 minutes. They want you in that queue. So before you think like, I don't want to put my group of 4 in there, do it. Just do it. I mean, you might get broken up, you probably will get broken up, but it's still great. Real quick, before we head over to San Francisco, I want to check in on Flo's VA Cafe on a fairly random 2 o'clock, 2:30 now, is it? 2:28? This is off peak for dining right now. 2:28 is when I would recommend trying to get into a standby queue at a quick service restaurant, but this is, wow. Guys, use mobile order, please. I'm gonna do a video, I promise. I'm gonna do a video on mobile order, on the app in general, on Genie Plus, all that. But this is your wait right now. If you have a mobile order, you just walk up and pick it up. And by the way, I can add that the wait time on mobile right now for Flo's VA Cafe is now. There is no wait. You can place an order right now for Flo's VA Cafe at 2:30. And then just walk straight up to the window and pick it up. Just say you're ready, pick it up, and you're gonna have your food in a couple minutes. You're looking at probably 20 minutes. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes to place an order per party. And if I'm looking at this queue right now, I'm seeing at least 10 parties in here. Don't count the guests because people are often, 2 or 3 groups or 2 or 3 people per group. But you're looking at least 20 minutes for that right now. And every one of these guests right now could just get on the app and place a mobile order and be done. So that wind up being a dual purpose check-in on Flo's because I wanted to see how busy a quick service location was right now. That's pretty busy, especially for 2:30. You go in that place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Now the mobile order probably won't be for right now at 1 o'clock, but it would be now at 2:30. But that's my other purpose for this update is to confirm once again, please. I know it's drag and not everybody likes to be on their phone all the time, and it sucks, but you're gonna save time. You're gonna save time if you just use mobile order a little bit. Which takes us to San Francisco, which, you know what, I'm gonna just real quick, we did this in our last State of Disneyland report where we talked about the wait times on mobile, but I did that during a peak, it was noon when I checked that board right now. I'm just gonna scan real quick as we walk through San Francisco. Let's just take a look. There's Flo's again at now. Cozy Cone is now. Lucky Fortune is 15 minutes. Rita's is now, and Cass is 5 minutes. Cocina is 40. Wow. Hey, look at this. There's your standby for Cocina. Even if you do that 40 right now, I think you're still gonna beat that standby right there. That's 40, oh my gosh, that is enormous. That is one long queue there for standby, my gosh. Again, 2 or 3 minutes per group. I'm seeing, 20 groups there at least, maybe more, so you're looking at 40, 45 minutes at least. So that's Cocina. The Cerveceria is now, it always is now though. There's your Cerveceria right there. And then what's the other one? Okay, Pim is now, but that's not where we're at. I'm trying to find, I guess that is it. Anyway, every now and then I like to do a little PSA to remind folks, encourage you to use mobile order. Not because I think it's great, but because it saves time. And that's, that's what I'm here for. Just trying to educate you guys and help you save a little time at the parks. We're just gonna take this walk through the bridge, which I just love. 100% an upgrade to the old Pacific Wharf Bridge. I absolutely love it. I probably shouldn't, I don't know, because some people think it's low tech or a half measure, but I just love that bridge. In fact, let's take this opportunity to head down to the World of Color viewing area, Paradise Bay. Take a look at the tip board, which could be a challenge because it looks like the Fat Cat Swingers are doing a sound check right now. As we mentioned, Food and Wine Festival is happening as we shoot this. gold suit right there. He's a former Zoot from the Five and Dime. Hey, Zoot. Remember him? If I'm not mistaken, actually, I think he might still be Zoot from time to time. I think he takes the odd gig. While I get the tip board ready, you can enjoy this view, although I don't hear Incredicoaster. I think the Incredicoaster is closed. I don't see it and I don't hear it. As usual, we gotta scroll a bit to find an actual attraction. Golden Zephyr is 20 minutes? There you go. As I warned you, the Fat Cat Swingers have started performing. Golden Zephyr is 20 minutes. I'm looking at it now. It's all of that. We'll pass by there in a minute. Goofy Sky School, again, is closed. I feel like it's closed every time we do this. Everybody's losing their hats on that attraction and they have to shut the ride down. Grizzly River Run is at 50 minutes, near an hour. Welcome back, Grizzly. And it's near an hour. It's a fairly warm afternoon. It's about 70 degrees today. Hour and a half return time. Guardians of the Galaxy actually dropped. Did I call it? It was at 55 when we went by. It is down to 40. I said that's a go. And it's actually a bargain. And I was right. It is now down to 40. Now, if you go back there now, it's too late. You go back there, if we had the ability to transport ourselves over there, we would see a full Lightning Link queue and a full standby, is my guess. Return time, by the way, of 2 hours. Emotional Whirlwind is 30. Jesse's, as always, is a walk-on, as is Jumpin' Jellyfish. Look at that. Little Mermaid is 35 minutes. That is way too long for Little Mermaid. We saw it at 45 2 weeks ago. That is still no bargain. Return time in a half an hour. Luigi's is 50. We forgot to check on Luigi's, you guys. When we were in Cars Land, we forgot to check on Luigi's, but I'm glad we missed it because it's at almost an hour. Mater's has jumped to 40. You remember when I said I looked at that queue and I'm like, I'm not sure that's 20. I'm not sure that's 20. If it is, it's all of it. And there you go. That is more proof in that pudding. Monsters Inc. is steady at 60. We checked by there earlier. It was at 75 when we walked through and it dropped down to 60 while we were watching. Return time in 2 hours. The Pixar Pal Round, as you're looking at that right now, it is operational and at 30 minutes for, it doesn't say if that's for, it doesn't say if that's for swinging or not swinging. Radiator Springs is at 90 minutes and the return time is for almost an hour, 45 minutes from now. That's pretty high for an individual Lightning Lane attraction. Normally those are for now. Silly Symphony, which we'll check in on a minute as well, that's 30 minutes. Soarin' is 95 minutes with a return time in 4 hours. I'm sorry, 5 hours almost. That's sick. That's very sick. Toy Story 55, I can't wait to check on that. That's 3.5 hours from now. But that's pretty normal for Toy Story. So that queue, that wait time is neither, that's no kind of call to action. It's neither a call to join or a call to stay away. That's pretty much where it normally should be. And then Web Slingers is up to 55 with a 4.5 hour return time. Wow, wow, wow. Interestingly, that's actually that's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought it might be. I wasn't sure if today was going to be as bad or worse than 2 weeks ago. But all in, I feel like we're no worse, at least. It might even be better than it was 2 weeks ago. Let's go to Pixar Pier. clearly, this is not as bad as it was 2 weeks ago. I mean, that could be the fact that Incredicoaster is not open, so it's not clogging up this part of Pixar Pier. But this is actually not even close to what we encountered 2 weeks ago. Jury's still out though, but I feel like this could be a situation where we may have achieved our peak capacity, our peak attendance 2 weeks ago. Having said that, man, I would just walk by the adorable snowman back there. That Pixar Pier parfait, that is perfection. I really want one right now. There's the current state of Incredicoaster. Quiet as a mouse right now. Now compare that to the scene we saw. Was that 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago? I want to say 4 weeks ago when we saw that whole scene out here, you know, with the 90-minute standby. Right now it's just quiet, peaceful. I wonder what Toy Story Midway Mania is like. Look at that, I just happened to notice. It's a lot easier to see Frozone at this point right now. He's doing the Baymax. How funny. You guys remember when they first opened Pixar Pier and they had the Incredicoaster, you could actually meet Edna. She was great. I wish I could meet Edna again, but I haven't seen her in 100 years. It's been a long time since I've seen Edna around here. It's also been 100 years since I've seen a Jesse's Critter Carousel queue stick out beyond the threshold there. It's all the way, wow. I wonder if that's the Incredicoaster effect, it being closed. But actually, you would expect that to be the case over here at Toy Story. 2 weeks ago, we saw Lightning Lane right here. This is where the Lightning Lane queue was 2 weeks ago. That was a shocking experience. And that's why I kind of feel like it's not as busy today. It could be that did everybody use their $50 ticket? Oh my, wait, hold on though. I found the guests. They're in the standby queue, 95 minutes for Toy Story, which is in excess of what we saw 2 weeks ago. And that's because, look, they filled it up. So instead of getting Genie Plus today, they're getting it standby. That's what this tells me. There is a Genie Plus queue. I'm not saying there isn't. That's pretty bad right now, actually. And if I saw this right here in conjunction with that right there, I would say that's a no-go. But it does look like fewer people have purchased Genie Plus today, or they'd be in this queue right now, right? They would be all the way out there, because I'm not getting in a 95-minute queue, am I? Hey, Buzz. Let's talk about Genie Plus for a second. It could be argued that it's too cheap. It could be argued that Genie Plus is affordable. Now, a lot of people want to say it costs too much and I don't want to spend, $25, $100 or whatever for my family. $25 per guest, I should say, for a family of four. But when you compare it to Universal Studios, which could be upwards of $200, I said, and Fastlane at Knott's Berry Farm, which is $100, $25 is quite affordable in comparison. I'm not saying that I would advise anybody on doing this, but when you compare it, especially when you consider that what you get at Universal for that $200 is the same as what you get at Disney, and that is one trip through Fast Pass per, or one trip through Lightning per attraction. So people are saying, why doesn't Disney raise the prices? Why don't they charge more in order to reduce that impact that Genie Plus, that Lightning Lane is having on standby? And it's a very good question. Why don't they? They should, in reality, because they're giving a premium experience, and it's very premium, you guys. Genie Plus at $25 is worth it, especially if you're coming just once a year or something to that effect, or maybe twice a year. If you're not here often, then it is worth it. You should be doing it, even at $25 per guest. It's a good value. Personally, I don't use it because I'm here all the time and I don't need to. I don't think there's any doubt that raising the prices would reduce the impact of Lightning Lane of Genie Plus on standby while also maintaining the same levels of revenue. You can, if you sell them at double the price at $50 and sell half as many, you've generated the same amount of revenue while making the standby experience better, you know, for the average guest. Disney has opted not to do that so far, and the reason for that, I believe, and I've heard this anecdotally from people who work, you know, at the company inside, that they want to maintain. Now you're going to find this kind of humorous, I'm sure. They want to maintain the illusion, the idea that Disney is family friendly, that it's affordable, that they're not trying to price gauge, or that they're not trying to overcharge people for things, that they're not trying to overcharge, and that they're trying to make the park affordable, which is kind of humorous considering a park hopper is $200 now, right? For a tier 1 park hopper, it's 200 something. But that's the reason. That's the reason why they haven't done it. They could still, but I don't know. I don't feel like they think that's the right thing to do. If they did, it's supposed to have flex pricing. That I feel like the flex range should be wider. Maybe they can still charge $20 when, you know, when the demand is low. But if the demand is super high, like it is here at DCA usually, make the range higher. Make it 50. Make it 20 to instead of 15 to 25, which is kind of a narrow range when you think about it. Instead of making it 15 or 20 to 25 or 20 to 30, make it 20 to 50 or 20 to 75. Create a really big range. That's the way to go. Because I feel like that would work. But like I said, they haven't done it because they want to maintain the illusion that they're family friendly. Let's check next at the Pixar Pal Around, which is always a volatile conversation in terms of what the wait times could be. Right now it's posted 60 minutes for the non-swinging gondola and 60 minutes for swinging gondola. And the queues that I'm seeing definitely suggest that. That's a good sized queue for the swing gondola. It's going, you don't often see it extend out into the walkway like that, although I think it did do that 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, the non-swinging gondola is not only is it around the corner, it is all the way out into the walkway, which you hardly ever see. Keep in mind, the Pixar Pal Around is one of those attractions that is not on Genie Plus. It's no Lightning Lane, so there's no influence there. That's just straight up busy day here at California Adventure. Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind is next on Pixar Pier. When we saw this posted, it was 30 minutes on the tip board, and that's where it has stayed. Looks about as bad as we found it 2 weeks ago. 30 minutes posted. Queue is in the lower level. It's going to be all of that. No breaks there. One of the most excruciating queues that you'll find at California Adventure. The Pixar, or the Emotional Whirlwind, I said Pixar. The Emotional Whirlwind and Pixar Pal Around are just kind of brutal to wait in. Kind of brutal. Also, though, I should note, not worse. It's not worse. Silly Symphony is currently swinging. There's a queue up top, obviously, and a little bit down below, posted at 15. Not bad at all. I'd wait in that queue, even if it's down here like it is. That's still not bad. When we checked the tip board earlier in the afternoon, presently it is 3:16. When we checked about, I want to say about an hour ago, Goofy Sky School was closed. That looks to be still the case. I don't see any action up there, no movement up there in Goofy Sky School, so we're not going to be able to analyze that queue at all. As for Jumpin' Jellyfish on our right, which is a attraction we often skip. We just walk right by this one often. 15 minutes for Jumpin' Jellyfish right now, which maybe that's a full queue. for the jelly. I'm not sure because it takes a little while. As long as they're having both sides, as long as they're running both sides, that's always good. It is often the case though that only one side of Jumpin' Jellyfish is operational. That's not a good thing. So if you see a lengthy queue and one side operating, that's probably a no-go. And now I'm kind of nervous because we're about to approach Ariel's Undersea Adventure, Little Mermaid, and see what the standby queue looks like and the wait time. I think I'm going to get in the queue. I haven't tested this on a peak day yet, and I feel like I want to do that. Stay tuned though, because when we're done with Little Mermaid, we'll talk about that first, obviously. But we're also going to have a conversation about Redwood Creek, which is coming up next, and about Avatar, and possibly about the developments, the shakeups that are happening with Imagineering, with the recent dismissal, I don't know if that's the right word or not, hey guys, of the head of WDI, Barbara Booza. But first, let's check in on Ariel's Undersea Adventure, The Little Mermaid. I'm already regretting my decision, my preconceived idea of checking or getting into the standby queue. I don't see the posted, oh there it is. It says 30 minutes on the board right there. And there is a Lightning Lane queue forming here on the left. Standby is about as we found it 2 weeks ago when we walked by and it was 45 minutes. I feel like I'm getting in this at the wrong time. Posted as 30. If it was posted at 45, this might be less than that, but I feel like we're gonna probably see the top end of 30 minutes here. For the books, we're getting in this queue at 3:22 in the afternoon, 3:22. So right now, not a lot of folks getting into into Lightning Lane. It's 3:28, it's been about 6 minutes. And we're starting to get into the main standby queue, but this looks to be almost pure standby right now, which is good. It's good. 3:33, and we've reached the last stretch before you enter the interior queue, so we've been 11 minutes in so far. We've been moving pretty okay, actually. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to post up and lean. As soon as you do lean, you start moving again. It's not brisk, but it's also not like it was like we saw at Web Slingers where people had a chance to just post up where they're sitting. This, by the way, right here, that's Lightning Lane. There is still just a smattering of guests going through there, which is great for standby. They'll get through these guests in a minute, and they can keep sending standby through. So I feel like we're on a good pace to beat that 30 minutes right now, even though I don't have anything to base that on. As I mentioned, I've never tested. Since they put Little Mermaid on Genie Plus, on Lightning Lane, I've never tested this queue during a busy period like this. I've been in it once before where it was a straight walk-on, but I've never gotten in the queue and experienced it at a peak time where they've got 30 minutes posted on the whiteboard. And then Mix Point is right here at the door, which is about what I would have expected. When they first started talking about doing this, I said that's where they're going to mix them, but I thought they might do it from the other side, not from here. I guess they couldn't have, because I'm looking at that walkway down there right now, and it's fairly narrow. You couldn't put 2 queues in that space. Yes, she'll just pause the standby queue for a second to let those guests go in, and then it's us. Just one. And at 3:36, we've reached the mix point in 14 minutes. We're going to spend, so we don't have any more influence from Lightning Lane now. This is, everybody's all together. It's going to be about 2 more minutes to get to our clamshell, so it'll be 3:38, 16 minutes total. And right on time, 3:38, as we head into our ride vehicle, 16 minutes.
This is such a great story about how Ariel became a wolf.
The fish on the land ain't happy, but they said good things
15 minutes to the vehicle. That was, definitely less than 30. Plus a great way to spend 6 minutes under the sea. That was what I had hoped for when I first heard this news. I was hoping that we would run into that kind of scenario where even on a borderline worst case condition, this is on the edge of worst case condition. It was still a short wait, 16 minutes. I'm curious to know what that 45 would have looked like. Now, so that's great for Little Mermaid, but I don't think, I can already tell you we haven't or should expect the same for Pirates. Pirates is a significantly more popular attraction. Some could argue, the most popular attraction in the park, period. They process 3,000 guests per hour, more than that, on an hourly basis. So people are going to use their lightning lane there at Pirates more often than they would here at DCA for Little Mermaid. So, although they compare in terms of the ride operations, in terms of necessity, neither attraction needs lightning lane. It obviously makes both worse having had it. But this, it's still okay. It's not so bad. It's not so terrible at Little Mermaid. It's bad still at Pirates, which takes us to California Route 49, the scenic route through Grizzly Peak. And what I want to talk about next is Redwood Creek Challenge. You may have seen in our construction report yesterday that it's closed and will be closed for, off the top of my head now, I want to say a month or more. Actually, I don't think it was open-ended last I checked. There was no, the calendar hadn't, it was beyond the range of the refurb calendar. And I mentioned in our previous conversation about this that one shouldn't assume that this means anything related to Avatar. And that is in spite of the fact that the Disney company and an Avatar expansion was in the news again. Most recently, Iger was in an interview stated that, again, they are planning another Avatar experience. Well, actually, he used the word land. He said it's going to be a land in California. So this is now, I think, the third time that he has talked about this specifically. But again, he didn't give any details in terms of timelines or what it might be. But this is the first time that he referred to it as a land and not an experience. Having said that, Disney came back recently through their press or public relations and said, no, it's not a land, it is an experience. You could argue the semantics of those two terms, and I'm curious, first of all, why they would go out of their way to make that distinction. You called it an experience, and then you called it a land, and they said, no, it's an experience. What's the difference? Scope, scale, I'm not sure. But they also called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, they called that an experience also. So the jury's still out on what it is. But I mentioned it in terms of Redwood Creek because, again, the land or the attraction is going down for a month or more. Avatar's in the news. Redwood Creek is not going to be converted right now to Avatar for sure. But I will remind you that when this news first, the Avatar story first broke, I want to say like a year ago. Was it more than that even? This is where I landed as the most logical place that it would be. You put Navi River Run in the Little Mermaid building that we were just in. Redwood Creek would be the exterior experience. You know how you're walking through and you see the floating rocks and all that, and all the plants and all that? That would be Redwood Creek, and the approach to it from Grizzly River Run. Grizzly River Run would be a new attraction, but clearly something themed towards Way of Water. And then at the entrance to this land, coming out of Carthay, is Soarin'. That would be converted to Flight of Passage. Now, I don't know if you can fit Flight of Passage in the Soarin' building. I don't know if you can fit Navi River Run in the Little Mermaid building. Probably the latter, but I'm not so sure about the former. I feel like Flight of Passage might be a bigger building, but it's hard to say. Maybe they could fit it in there. But this location would be the most logical place. Now, one thing I will add before we conclude this conversation is that some people mistook what he said. He said, in California, Disneyland in California, or the Disney Park in California. Some people mistook that as speaking specifically to California Adventure. That's not what he said. It could still be either park. One thing I know it won't be in the back lot. That's too small and doesn't make any sense thematically to put it there. And by that I mean you can't create a transition from Buena Vista Street into Pandora, nor can you create a transition from Avengers Campus into Pandora. It's just impossible. Not to mention, it's just too small. It's way too small for Pandora. I don't think it would fit in the backstage area behind Mission Breakout and Radiator Springs Racers. That's too small also. And I also don't think it's going to go in Tomorrowland because that place is sacred. I'm sorry, but Tomorrowland is sacred. They would rather do nothing to Tomorrowland than put Avatar or Pandora in Tomorrowland. You might put a single experience and make an Avatar experience in Tomorrowland and call it part of Tomorrowland, but I don't think you can create a land in that space. If their goal is to make a land, that's where it goes, right here at Redwood Creek and all of Grizzly Peak. And that, my friends, was a lot of words. By the way, I would not be disappointed or upset if they did wind up putting it here. I do think Grizzly Peak is the most underrated land in the entire Disneyland resort, both parks. I think that it is one of the most well-themed and interesting places to be in either park. I really love it here. But I also love Pandora, and I feel like this land could be expendable because it doesn't have the same cachet, the same history, the same lore as some other lands might at the Disneyland Resort. So while I love it, I do still think it is expendable in terms of history. River Run is particularly amazing. I love this attraction. We finally got to go on it a couple weeks ago. It's been a minute. 40-minute standby right now at Grizzly, which is not bad considering it was 60 earlier, and it looks kind of light at the moment. It's getting cooler. It's not quite as toasty as it has been or was earlier today. But I do love Grizzly River Run. One last comment about Avatar and anything else expansion or ride related in terms of WDI Imagineering. You might have heard the news that the president of WDI quit, I think. She made it sound like she was leaving for other reasons, for other opportunities perhaps. She's only been on the job since 2020. She was a Chapek hire, and she is being replaced, we think. I don't think they've made anything official yet, but it's most likely going to be the case that Bruce Vaughn takes over as head of Imagineering, which is a good thing. We talked about in previous state of reports about looking for changes in the air. I get the feeling things are happening. This is one of those things. This is one of the things that I've observed since we made that observation, or that prediction, as it were. But this is definitely a change, and it's definitely a win for us. It's a win for Disney guests. As I mentioned, Booza was a Chapek hire. I don't know what Booza has done or not done. I just know that if Chapek hired her, it's probably for the bad reasons. I'm not a Chapek guy. I will be the first to admit that. I'm not a Chapek guy at all. So whereas Vaughn, he was, part of the team that built Pandora, for example. So you gotta like the sound of that, right? He and Joe Rohde built Pandora, and Pandora is just in the news recently. Avatar. We're at Redwood Creek, so I like how all of those pieces are fitting together. I like Bruce Vaughn in charge at WDI. Hopefully that's what happens. So I know some people want to spin this as a negative for the Disney company. I've seen this social media, you guys. It is making me crazy how people are just itching to hate on the Disney company and look for anything. But as I was mentioning to a friend, you can't call for change in the Disney company. You can't say this is wrong. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like what the hotels look like. I don't, in terms of Booza in her statement said she was trying to take a more global approach to her design, to their decisions. And I'm wondering if maybe that's the reason why all the recent hotel developments look like something out of Vegas. She said this, not, this isn't anything that people are observing. She said this. So we got to figure that it's positive they're saying no to that. And yes to Bruce Vaughan, who is old regime, who's been around for a while. They're saying no to the current head of Disney Animation, who is the guy who is responsible for, I should say the Walt Disney Studios, the guy who's responsible for all the live action remakes, the good ones and the bad ones. And they're saying yes to a guy who said maybe those aren't the best thing to do. Those are two very clear indications that there is change happening. It's happening now. We're observing it. It's happening. So if you want to ask for change and then you get it, you've got to root for that. You've got to be appreciative of that. I don't know if they're going to get everything, if we're going to get everything we want out of this Bruce Vaughan situation, or out of Booza leaving. But you got to take your W's where you can. This is a W for you and me. Thank you from that W, that conversation just now, to this L. We're at Soarin'. It's California right now, by the way, because we're in Food and Wine. When they do the Food and Wine, it's Soarin' over California, not Soarin' around the world. We're looking at a 120-minute standby queue. There's a lot of guests in that queue. Actually, it looks like it could be worse, right? That's not a lot, but as we saw a couple weeks ago, this is the L for you and me, for standby. It's not quite the L if you already have Genie Plus, but like last week or 2 weeks ago, hey, huge queue. Lightning lane for Soarin'. We saw on the tip board it was 90 minutes, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so bad. Well, it's 90 minutes plus 30 minutes more as we approach this situation at 4:08 in the afternoon. 4:08. Will it go past the mark we saw 2 weeks ago when it reached Smoke Jumper's Grill? And it's about the same. This actually might just be slightly smaller. I want to say 2 weeks ago the queue was about to this entry area right here to Smoke Jumper's proper. That's it, guys. We did it. We just took a complete tour around California Adventure, every land and every attraction, plus what's new with the Disney company. And we've landed back out here at Carthay Circle, just like we left it, but with the sun just a little bit lower. Today was the first day of daylight savings. We sprung forward, so we're getting a little more daylight to shoot these episodes now, which is great. I hate shooting these things in the dark. So I'm going to enjoy this extra hour of sunlight today and going forward. And we'll make our way out on Buena Vista Street and say thank you to everybody for watching. If you liked our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. You can also follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney. That's fresh with no E. Hi, guys. And on TikTok at freshbakedisney. And if you like our, oh, I already said that. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh Baked.